I want to talk today about a question that I was asked a few days ago on my morning live stream about what are the most common misconceptions about the carnivore lifestyle. And I'm going to do this morning while I cook myself my first meal of the day, which is usually, if not always, bacon and eggs. About a half a pound of bacon, 5 eggs. Misconceptions. Carnivore lifestyle is probably one of the most misunderstood, I call it diets. I hate to use the word diet, but that's how it's always referred to. One of the most misunderstood diets on the planet. For so many reasons. It's perceived to be so strange, so unusual, so out of the ordinary, that after all of these years, at least the last 100 years of us focusing on what they say we're supposed to be eating, what really constitute healthy foods, the mindset that somehow meat is poisoning us has led just about everybody, after all those years of propaganda, to have so many misconceptions that it amazes me that anybody, even myself, considers this the way to eat. Now, we use terms like the proper human diet. I use terms like the ancestral human diet, the evolutionary human diet. But basically, a predominantly meat-heavy diet with a minimum of other things was how our species evolved over the years. The reason we need to understand misconceptions is not for our sake, because we understand the reasons. We understand why what we're doing is correct. It's the other people we need to talk to. The people that are constantly telling us how we're killing ourselves, that we're going to have heart attacks. If you don't talk to other people about it, and you don't care what they think, and you don't have any loved ones that you're trying to save their lives and health, it doesn't matter what the misconceptions are. Let people misconceive anything they want. When that happens, it just basically means there's more meat for us. There's a downside to spreading the word, and that is it makes the products that we eat more expensive and harder to find. Sometimes I think maybe we should keep it a secret. Be the healthiest people on the planet. Let everybody else wonder what we're doing. But that's not how we are. We're compassionate people. We want to help. And we all get frustrated when we're being told, not only by our loved ones, not only by our friends, but by the medical community, for God's sakes, by the government, that what we're doing is unhealthy and what they tell us to do is healthy, when all of the evidence points to the contrary. If that was true, and everybody was following all the medical advice, common sense does not explain why, in the face of all of that, diseases, especially chronic diseases like cancer, heart disease, diabetes are skyrocketing. Skyrocketing. And it's that logic that lies at the heart and is explained by all of these misconceptions that we're going to talk about. And I've made some notes here. I've got 5 of them down here, and I want to go into them briefly. We've talked about all of these things many, many times. You've heard about these things. But these are, in my estimation, the 5 misconceptions that create objections to this lifestyle. A lifestyle that so many of us have absolutely proven works in so many ways and renders all of these misconceptions false. False. First misconception. Meat is bad for you, especially red meat. Meat is bad for you. That can't be true, and we know why. We've talked about that. We all believe that the most nutrient-dense, natural food for humans to eat is the stuff we're made out of. You are what you eat. I say eat what you are. It just makes sense that our ancestors, up until 100 years ago or so, didn't demonize meat. It was a natural thing. Farmers raised cows. People ate meat. Excuse me while I beat my eggs, would you? Thank you. Meat is the appropriate food for the human animal. It contains everything we need. In this Pyrex measuring cup is every nutrient, every amino acid, vitamin, and mineral necessary to build a living chicken. It is a complete nutrient package. Same thing with the bacon, healthy fats. Meat is what we're supposed to eat. How do you convince people who have had vegan and fruits and vegetables drummed into their heads? They have to be educated. They're just not going to take our word for it. So that's the first most common misconception that you're going to hear. And if you're going to convince anybody that you're not killing yourself, and if you're going to convince anybody that maybe they should explore this and find out that it's the answer to their problems, and the answer to their problems are not in a prescription bottle, they need to grasp the reality that meat is the healthiest thing they can eat. Second misconception, that plants contain essential nutrients that we can't live without. That's a big one. That's a big one. Our entire nutritional advice is built around plants are good, meat is bad. Meat is bad, plants are good. Plants are healthy, meat kills you. If you say meat is good, the other half of that argument is that plants are good. We know for a fact now that most plants are poisonous. that plants have defense chemicals, that plants, in order to survive and reproduce, cannot go extinct. Therefore, not consciously, but those that have evolved defense chemicals, things that make animals that eat them sick and discourage the animals from eating them, they are the ones that have survived over time. And as in any other evolutionary process, those traits improve with each generation, and the poisons become more poisonous, and they survive. We know what these poisons are. We know that these plants contain oxalates, lectins, anti-nutrients. They contain plant sterols instead of animal sterols. They contain things that do nothing but disrupt our body. They have tons of fiber, which is so foreign to the human body that it is not even digestible and has to be fermented in our guts by bacteria, like it is in a cow. We don't have the hardware for that anymore. We are now carnivores. Our ancestors 7 or 8 million years ago were not carnivores. They were mostly plant eaters. But we have become carnivores, and we have the machinery and equipment to be carnivores. Plants are not necessary. Plants are not necessary. Plants are mostly carbohydrates, mostly sugars, especially the grains. They have toxins. All the strongest poisons in the world that we know of come from plants. The minimum daily essential plant material that a human animal needs to eat is 0 grams. We need no grams of sugar. We need no grams of fiber. It is a misconception, and coupled with the meat is bad, is the total of the narrative that we're being bombarded with every day to make the food companies richer, the pharmaceutical companies richer. It's very sad. It's very sad. For 2.5 years, I've been living off nothing but animal food. No plants, no carbs, no nothing. I'm in the best health of my life. Obviously, these are misconceptions. Third thing, that eating an animal-based diet is hard on our kidneys. That doesn't make any sense either. Doesn't make any sense either. My kidneys have had a hard time and probably suffered some damage over the course of my life. Not from eating meat, but from eating plants. Plants contain oxalates. Oxalates pool up in the kidneys, form kidney stones, tear up the kidneys. I think are one of the main causes of kidney disease. And actually switching to a carnivore lifestyle has improved my kidneys, shrunk my kidney stones, and if I never eat another oxalate in my lifetime. Also, people that have stage 4 kidney disease, after going carnivore, it has stopped progressing, and in some cases even gone back to stage 3 or stage 2. The kidneys have actually healed themselves without being constantly destroyed by a flood of oxalates that the body's trying to get rid of. So that's a misconception too, and there's plenty of research that you can do. The fourth major misconception comes from the entire Ansel Keys. Cholesterol and saturated fat are clogging your arteries and causing heart disease. That's spawned the entire statin industry. And with all the research we've done and everything we know today, I'm pretty sure, in fact, I bet my future life and health on it, that it's exactly the opposite, like everything else they tell us. That it's not fat and cholesterol clogging arteries. It's inflammation and the damage caused by ingesting too many sugars and oxidative products like seed oils that cause an immune response that uses plaque to repair the damaged artery walls and are responsible for the heart disease. It's the excess of sugar in the diet, it always has been, that's causing, directly or indirectly, all of the chronic conditions that we suffer from today. Anything from diabetes to heart conditions, even to mental disorders, dementia, the lack of cholesterol, and the lack of fat. Lack of fat in our diet is what's responsible for the problem, and continuing to push a low-fat, low-protein, lean, small amounts of lean meat diet. Low-fat, our body is not getting what it needs to keep our brain in shape, our cell walls in shape. I mean, we make it worse by taking statins to lower what is a problem of not enough cholesterol to make it even worse. And boy, are we suffering the consequences of that. So that, I think, is a major misconception as well. Then the fifth misconception. The fifth misconception comes from our carb addictions. Our carb addiction and the lack of proper nutrition has us convinced we need tremendous variety in our foods. And this is the scariest thing about anybody contemplating or even considering remotely going on a new lifestyle that you pretty much have to do forever. This is not a diet where you can just go back to eating what you used to, what you really love when you lose the weight. It's a commitment to a new lifestyle. And the scariest part of it for most people are not the concerns we talked about already. It's the fact that they get most of their pleasure in life from food because they're such addicts, and the mere thought of giving up everything sweet, everything with carbs in it, the thought of giving that stuff up is so horrendous to them that they can't even consider it. And that's the hardest thing to get people to understand. What they don't understand, and you cannot convince them, I know I've tried, is that the lack of variety after you've fixed everything is a non-issue, a complete and total non-issue. You don't want all that stuff anymore because you've cured your carbohydrate addiction, and that makes a carnivore lifestyle one of the only ways to cure what is the most common and fierce addiction that a human animal can have. The addiction to carbohydrates. I've talked many times about why we're addicted to carbohydrates. the amazing transformation that happens makes this right here the most appealing food that you would ever eat. You never get tired of it. You don't want anything else. The thought of having a bowl of cereal with skim milk instead of this is disgusting. This will happen, but you can't convince people that it will. So that's what I think the fifth major misconception about a carnivore lifestyle is: it will become so boring you can't keep it up. And the opposite is true. You will find yourself looking forward to a smaller range of foods that are nutritious, and you'll enjoy them more, believe it or not, than you ever enjoyed all of that sweet stuff that your addictions forced you to seek out in your body's ever-increasing scavenger hunt to find those essential nutrients that are found in this kind of food that you're missing and have been missing because you're eating sugar. And that's it. That's it. So I hope maybe this made some sense to you. I'm going to enjoy my breakfast. And while I do, take the rest of the day off and eat meat.